That last bit that you saw was from Melbourne, Australia, and this 12-year-old girl, and what she was talking was essentially first year undergraduate physics, atomic physics, as a game. And she was talking about protons and electrons. But as I said, it's not theoretical. Why I'm so happy to be standing here is because I can say I've done this in your country over and over and over again everywhere. And you should see those children, they weren't afraid at all to deal with me in a foreign language, the subject they would understand. They used to love it, that even this can happen. So, so then, words started going around, teachers started talking to each other, headmasters and principals started calling me, but everybody said there is a problem. So I said, what's the problem? It's a problem which you don't have so much over here as they have elsewhere. You know, here you don't have a kind of an official end of school examination as far as I can tell. You have sort of averaging of grades, but anyway, you do have examinations. What's an examination? I will teach you something, and then I will examine you. You will come with no aids, no assistants. You will not talk to anybody, and you will answer my question. If you can, then you have learned. If you cannot, you have failed. This was the system. Where did it come from? As far as I can tell, 19th century military. In the battlefield, there is no one. So, you know, but what's it doing here in the 21st century? So here's a picture from 1920s. It's an office. You know, I mean, I'm sure if you look in the archives of any museum, you'll see many of these offices. What does it have? It has rows and rows of clerks, and it has a floor supervisor who walks up and down. What do those clerks need to know? Well, first of all, they have to sit for 8 hours in one place without moving and without getting up too often. They need to not talk to each other too much. They should do their work diligently and alone. They should be able to read and understand instructions. They should be able to do arithmetic in their heads. And they should have clear handwriting so that one person's handwriting can be read by another. Reading, writing, and arithmetic became the pillars of primary education. They rule our lives as teachers. To produce what? Clerks. So it came as a shock to me, to country after country, and I thought, well, these are empires which had no computers, no aeroplanes, no motor cars. How do you run an empire? Unless you have people who are taught to behave like machines. You cannot do it otherwise. So people sometimes say that you're anti-school. I said, nothing of the sort. I admire the design and construction of the machine that produced these people. All I'm saying is, do we need it that way today, when we have machines doing that work? But then, unfortunately, we do. I will show you, this is a picture, as I said, from 1920. Here is a picture of an examination room from India this year. You see that? Isn't it obvious what it's trying to do? It's a 200-year-old machine efficiently producing a product that nobody wants. You know, it's kind of sad. It's like science fiction. The masters are gone. The machines are trying to churn out these people. So what's the world that our children are going to grow up in? Isn't that what most of your offices look like? And does it not remind you of the hole in the wall? It's mutual discussion, an unknown subject, the internet. Why? Because there's nobody else to tell you. So if you have to prepare children for this world, should not the assessment system look like this? You know? I'm sure you've seen them out there in the shopping malls and everywhere. That's their life. They live with those things. Except for one time during the day, when they're inside schools. Then we take it away. Okay. So a student in England once told me, why is the day of the examination the only day in my life when I don't have the internet? I couldn't answer him. So, actually there is an answer, and I think all of us know that answer, that our whole education is based on just in case. Why do I teach you trigonometry? Why do I teach you quadratic equations? Why do I teach you the geography of Iceland? Because just in case, if you need it, I would have saved your life. But that education, ladies and gentlemen, is useful only to one historical person. You know who he is? Robinson Crusoe. He would have really thanked his teachers. Thank you. I'm going to use a little trigonometry now. So yes, it is from a time when you could not have carried your library on your back. So what happens when you need to do something? When you're on a ship, on a cloudy night, and you want to figure out where northeast is, what do? The old system taught them all of that very accurately. It saved their lives over and over again. But what are we doing with it? So, allowing the internet into the examination hall, I started to think, what would it do? And I decided that it will actually change the entire system. Remember, we started off today in the morning by saying you can affect pedagogy, you can affect curriculum, you can affect assessment. But imagine for a moment, think of your own class and think of a class test or whatever, except that you say, let's try a new kind of test. You can use the internet. Here's the question paper. So now what happens? You cannot write silly questions which Google will answer in 2 seconds. What's the point? So now you think, okay, what shall I ask them? Something which is not very obvious. Well, I have a policy, you can keep it in mind. It's hard, but I can ask them something that humanity itself doesn't have the answer to. That answer is not there on the internet. And I can then say, nobody knows. You know, to 10, 11, 12-year-olds, if you say, nobody knows this, they will listen to you with rapt attention. Really? Nobody? I'm going to find out. Okay? That sort of thing. So the fellow who writes the examination question paper, he'll change. The teacher, now you're standing in front of your class, you're teaching geography. You know that during the examination they're going to have access to the internet. Won't your teaching style change completely? You'll say, listen, search quickly. If you find 2 websites saying different things, here's the way to find out which one is right, which one is wrong. Make sure you're accurate in your searching. And if you're really courageous, you might say, if you're in real trouble, ask the guy next to you. That's how we solve problems in real life. That's how those 3 girls solved their problems. So why not during the test? I started saying this in England. And there's a classic conversation I had with the teacher who said, what? Let the internet inside the exam. They'll answer everything. So I said, but don't you want them to? And she said, oops. Thanks for that. That feels good. So then I started looking at the exams, and please do it sometimes. You know, you'll have, if you are in need for entertainment, look at old examination question papers. Here's one from, I couldn't find the Spanish ones, I don't understand, but here is one from the UK. End of school examination, GCSE. Which term is often used to describe the USA in the 1920s? 3 options. The Roaring 20s, the raving 20s and the raging 20s. Now you tell me, what will happen if I go through my entire life without knowing the answer to that? So where is all this coming from? Okay. I'm going to skip a couple. I want to show you that one. That one's the one before. This one. Which of the following is a carboxylic acid? This one, that one, or that one? I bet all of us used to know this at some point. Up to about 1 hour after the end of the chemistry exam, we used to know this. After that, we don't, except for the chemistry teachers. And also, I discovered that carboxylic acid is actually very poisonous for most snakes. So two people seem to find this topic extremely interesting, the chemistry teacher and snakes. Can't think of anybody else who So equations, okay, this is a simple one, but quadratic equations. All of us were taught how to solve a quadratic equation, right? For years we solved. The last quadratic equation you ever solved was in the examination that was testing to see if you knew how to solve it. After that, for 99% of the people in this room, you will never see a quadratic equation again. You'll never have to solve it again, thank God. I won't even tell you about this. This is from Singapore school final exams. It talks about what your breakfast looks like after a couple of hours. Anyway, so I was doing all this, put it into a subject which is unknown to me, education. I started reading what I could. I read a little bit of Vygotsky, a little bit of Piaget, all sorts of patchy stuff. I discovered many mistakes that I had made. But the data was standing there. And fortunately for me, whether it is Montessori or whether it is Vygotsky or whether it's Piaget, nobody had the internet. I did. So I said, I'm talking about something that they couldn't have talked about. This huge array of knowledge, instantly accessible, of material that points to each other. People often say, couldn't you do this sort of thing in a library? You can't, because books don't point to each other. You'd be lost in there. But the net does. And of course, the other two factors, remember? The internet, each other, and I'm afraid, the absence of a supervisor. These are the three conditions required. So I decided in 2013, I got a prize. It's called the TED Prize, big prize, $1 million. So, I was obviously very happy. I was about to call my bank and say that, listen, the days of 3-digit numbers is over. But Ted told me, that's not how it works. You have to tell us a project that you will do, and if we approve the project, then we'll give you the money. And we won't give you the money, we'll give your university the money. Which means that every time I get into a taxi, I have to tell the university why I didn't use a bicycle. Okay, I started off with a set of experiments. I'm going to show you this results very, very quickly. It's published stuff, you can find it on the net. If you just look at the title, you'll find, in a way it's actually ridiculous. Mean scores for GCSE questions attempted by 8-year-olds. I think 8-year-olds are not supposed to attempt GCSE questions. GCSE is the end of school exam which 17-year-olds take. So what we find is, what I did was, I got them to work in groups. Again, it's worth trying. Take questions from 6 years, 7 years ahead. That's what I did yesterday. Give it to a group of youngsters in the Seoul environment. Few computers, no supervision, you manage yourselves, make your groups talk, etc. So, mean scores 77 in groups. But now here comes a great surprise, okay? I waited for 2 or 3 months, and then I got the class back and said, do you remember that question? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you pieces of paper. You're not allowed to talk to each other. Answer it. I thought I have to get less than 77. But that's what I got, 80. I said, what happened? And then I got a shock of my life. They said, you gave us too little time the last time. So we went home and we Googled some more. so it anomalously gone up in individual learning, and I found several cases of it. I won't give you the actual stuff, but anyway, with physics, with molecular biology, everywhere the individual recalls would be higher. I made it harder and harder. I went to A level. Still the same or similar results. And yesterday, here in Buenos Aires, I went to a school and took 10-year-olds, and I gave them, you have your university sort of common entrance examination. So I took a question out of that, and I told the children, this is meant to be answered by 17-year-olds. Not a chance that you'll be able to do it. But anyway, let's see what you can do. You can't talk to me, I can, all the usual stuff about souls. So they all loved it. We want to do this experiment. So what was the question? The question, believe it or not, the question was, and translators will have to do a job on this. The question was, what was the defect with Fordism and what replaced it? And I told the children, quite honestly, I cannot understand a word of what this means. Not a word. I don't know, I can't help you. And I'm not going to be around, I'm going to be outside. You do it on your own. Shut down your computers, have 4 or 5, gather together. By the way, there's one other thing that I do. I tell them, I need an assistant. So everybody raised their hands. I want to be your assistant. I said, no, this is a democratic system. You cannot vote for yourself. So you have to suggest somebody